So hello again. Last refactoring we have made was around fixing the advantage result, because we wanted to show advantage player 1 name, player 2 name, where previously it was hard-coded player 1, player 2 as strings. So obviously it was a problem. And we started with just fixing the advantage result. We added 2 tests for that. The natural next step would be to fix the win result in a similar way. But very often it's that the pattern that you want to repeat would be actually easier if you do it the ugly way, for the first occurrence of the problem, so for advantage result. But now we can see that we have a new smell. We're on green. We haven't fixed the new bug, but this is like out of scope for a moment. And instead we can fix this code smell, and once we fix it, it will be easier to fix the win result. So that's another attempt to preparatory refactoring. So while I'm on green, I will fix this code smell, and this will hopefully let us make this fix easier. And the fix to this is a typical smell. This is something that you will notice very, very often in all the code bases, including the legacy code bases, or unfortunately also the new code bases. And the refactoring here is that, so the problem is that you have a group of parameters that naturally go together. And I'm looking at this book, my favorite book, Refactoring by Martin Fowler, and there is introduce parameter object chapter. So in there they say you have a group of parameters that naturally go together, replace them with an object. In here there is something that about those two things that actually points 1 and player 1 name. This is actually player 1 points, so the natural object missing here is player. I'm not super excited about introducing this object. I will tell you in some other refactoring video why, but for now this definitely will improve us a little bit. So what we can do is we can have an object called player 1. We are on green, all the tests are running, and basically what we want to have is something like player 1 is, and what I'm doing now is that I'm not really replacing, so I'm not removing this code. For now, I will just pass the player 1 objects everywhere while being green all the time, hopefully. And only at the end, where I have access to the player 1 object or player object everywhere I need, only then I will start removing the code. So this allows me to be green all the time. So what I want to have is that I want to have player 1 new taking the name and point. So in here it's 0. Okay. And player 2 will be the same, but with player 2 0. Obviously when I run it, it's red for a moment because I don't have this class. I have recently created this new shortcut for Ruby Mine, so here, but it will only work for like name. Okay, so this created this stuff, but now points, I want to have points as well. And by the way, if anyone knows how in Ruby Mine do this alignment, I'll be very happy because I didn't find a way. And we want to have access, so this is more like a data structure. So we want to have add reader for name and for points, which will be useful later. And now what we want to have is that we want to pass those objects to arbiter. Let's say this will be the first. And by the way, this is an interesting moment for our refactoring. So our test cases are at the level of not a single class. They are at the level of the real object here. So this is the real object. Everything else is more like implementation details. And this is nice because I can change the API of the arbiter class, and I don't really have to change any tests which would like cement the class. So this is like still living design. I can change it easily. And I feel like this kind of tests are much better for now. Maybe later we will refactor them as well. Tests are also meant to be refactored. But for now I can easily change, and I don't have to like change it everywhere in the test. So I'm not changing the test. This is good. So the tests are good. The tests are good if I can change the code and I don't have to immediately change all the tests. So that's a good thing. So in here I want to have player 1, and I want to get player 1 like that. Actually, let's immediately pass player 2 as well. So the conventions about underscores are not so easy. So player 1, player 2, and now we have player 1, player 2, and player 1, player 2. So now we can actually pass it. So we only had it in so far in advantage result. So here player 1, player 2, and obviously player 1, player 2, and player 1. So a bit of a boilerplate for now. Player 2. We should be still red. Sorry, should still be still green. Yes. And now instead of advantage player 1 name, so here we can say minus result. This is actually player 1 points, and this is player 2 points. Run the tests. Red. What did I go wrong? This is still green, right? Oh, I know. So obviously I cannot rely on points because in this place I missed the part. So I don't want to, I think I want something like score point, and the same for here. And score point doesn't exist as a method, but I want to make it right. So this should be working now. And now I should be able to replace, let's start with just 1. So yeah, this is now green, so this was now updated. So this is a very typical situation where, in a way, I have two sources of truth. So points 1 and player as an object both contain the same. And this is very typical for those kind of safe refactorings where for a moment you want to have two of those things. And only later you will remove one of them. Is that going to work? Yes. So now I can remove, I no longer need this list, which means I no longer need this, which means I can go there and remove all of this from the call. Run the test, still fine, yes. So in here I still need player 1, player points 1, points 2, so I can't really remove it from there because other places are relying on this. But at least I have, I think I have made it. I have made it this a little bit nicer. So in the next refactoring step, I can go to win result and actually rely on player 1, player 2, and this will make the code. Actually, I can, and then I can fix the bug. So that will be the next step. That's enough for this video. Thank you.